Hello, everyone. Welcome to another log stream. It's Friday, September 1st, 11 a.m. I welcome everyone to a new session. We're doing these streams every Friday with some periodicity. Sometimes there are some pauses, but it's been 5 years of the streams. Uh, they started on Twitch. I think it was Twitch for like a year, and then we deleted Twitch channel and all videos were gone. Just recently, I went through the archive of videos on YouTube, and it's a few years of streaming. So sometimes I think to do it more often. Maybe there's a way to do it a few times per week. I think we'll get back to the format that was introduced before, with different people taking over different days. So it's Friday for one person, Wednesday for another person. Um, I still think that that's a big innovation in company culture, where the management team would be streaming weekly. Um, I remember it was very hard to convince people to stream and have those moments with the community. Um, I still think imagining a company with 5 to 10 uh, leading people that have weekly updates every week, Monday through Sunday, and it's different categories: digital marketing, social, community, manufacturing, product. So I'm doing in this phase of Lot, I'm doing more of brainstorm sessions. So we is connecting and talking about everything. I see these streams more focused as the time passes. Hello everyone. Hi June, Nail, Ash, Almark, Sven, Vlad, David. Hi guys. Happy to see you here. So today I just wanted to talk a little bit more about the launch of the new version, and um, while we developing the app and working on the native app, and we almost built it. Shout out to Phil and Vlad in the chat. We almost built it, and I start to think about my day more and more, just my personal approach to technology. For the big part of it is just approach to work, and I personally found myself being more at the laptop and having a more disciplined workday for 8 hours than before. Before I would spend maybe 2 hours in front of the computer, then I would spend on mobile and on the phone. Now I spend more time at the computer. And I think about it a lot. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And I came to conclusion, at least about my personal life, is that um, phone, if you're not doing like social like Instagram Reels, basically. Phone is not necessary. The utility apps, you might use them once a week, but you might use apps like Airbnb, Uber, other utility service apps that you might need, but everything else seems to be um, not necessary at all. Like mindful apps, yoga apps, sport apps, running apps, they really feel to me, at least at this time, more as a distraction rather than the actual tool. Where the computer is an actual tool. So I have a work session, and the work session happens in front of computer. And so I was thinking that building a wellness self-care app could fall into the same category as all these other meditation apps. No matter how hard we try, it, especially if we're not doing native at the beginning, we're doing WebOS, um, not WebOS, it's just a browser app. If we're doing browser app, then I see it hard time being something scalable. And so I, in my mind, got back to the previous version of LotOS, um, with more of community approach, with statistics about the community, with the transparency, um, metrics, rankings. And I thought that that's perhaps more niche at first glance, but that's something that people would appreciate more. And so uh, during the past weeks, we started back uh, at started back started back at um, the OS idea for the tab. So I'm thinking that it's uh, it's a tab rather than the app. And the tab is really associated with work. So ultimately, I feel that the idea is that if you connect it to the cyberspace, internet, you at the computer doing work, talking to people, communicating to people, because yeah, you have network needs, you need communication needs, social needs. They mostly for work, I found, and to collaborate with people, to connect with people. But once you close your laptop or you off the computer, I feel that you don't need to even take your phone out. You have to be fully present with family or yourself. So be it just walking, drawing, cooking, but not the phone. So I feel that what we proposed before in terms of experience is that you have beginning of the day before work, before computer, then you have computer, say 5 to 8 hours to 10, then you have phone again, right? So that sounds not great at all. Sounds toxic to me, that you don't have gap for yourself. You just have phone, computer, phone. And there's really nothing going on the phone, like Instagram, social, even messages with people uh, doesn't feel authentic at all or beneficial. It feels more like running away from something. And so that was the like first layer. experience decision, experience design decision that there is no phone. You don't need a phone. Um, it's like in the games they have main screen and then they have second screen on the phone, but you still playing a game. And so that's the same thing. Like you don't need that second screen all the time. So perhaps a lot experience, a lot digital experience, and especially if you're planning physical experience, um, the subscription, the lot digital experience will be only during the work hours. So it's like your open tab. So I would have ChatGPT tab open for work, not to talk. I would have Google Docs, Google Spreadsheets, maybe Discord for Midjourney. Some people will have Slack open in the tab or as a standalone app, but it's all like work session. And so we feel like there will be a lot tab open. And lot tab is my personal place, like a dashboard of what's going on with me. So all the ideas about tracking, about self-care tracking, about metrics of my life, they belong in the tab, not on the phone. And so the interface, the paperclip interface that we had before, with some updates, seems to work great. So today I just wanted to briefly go through a few features that we had and kind of have a work session on what could be the first uh, features in this new OS, because we had everything there at once and that was a little too much. So it's the tab versus the app. You can call it the same thing, but it's still tab versus the app. It's 8 hours work companion. It's my personal dashboard. It's my metrics, my numbers. And that's where we have the progression that was introduced um, at the OS a few years ago, where we had bank, bank lead to savings, and savings lead to subscription. So the big idea was that um, you don't have to allocate, you don't have to pay for subscription. Rather, you use lot as a bank, and the dividends and savings um, credit system will generate you subscription. So if you user for a couple of years and you store your cryptocurrency or your some of your money there, like a wallet, that will generate savings. Maybe you subscribe to, as we discussed, to yourself, and you allocate a certain amount per month. Eventually, there will be enough funds to, not right away, but in a few years, it will be enough funds for you to get to subscription for free. Considering the referral programs where we had an idea that if a person that used my promo code or my invitation link become an active user, then I have a month for free. So the system was aligned towards a community member who with lot actively can have subscription for free. Um, so that was like first idea. that kind of become this. The example that is um, it's we're talking about the everything app like X or WeChat, and I feel that there's a very interesting opportunity to work with money, especially if we're talking about basic items. So you might use your um, whole your bank account towards two categories. One is like maintenance, necessities, refills that you need anyway, and another one is big purchases or planning, like big items, dreams, other people, unexpected payments. But then you have other category, which is maintenance of your being, of your body, that is inevitable. So I think that's a very interesting category for us. So subscription and bank account and money, card are very close together. It's not a one-off purchase. So that's what was at the beginning of the thinking behind the previous OS. With Bitcoin, it seemed very, very promising, but Bitcoin jumped the other way and it's kind of all gone. But the idea, if the something cryptocurrency always growing, right, then it's very, very promising. So we will definitely go away from only Bitcoin. There should be all currencies supported. But what I'm thinking as an update is that perhaps there's third iteration is that there's me, just me, no money, no society, no work, no responsibilities, just me. What's that? There's still metrics behind it. It's the sleep, but not sleep according to career. Like I have to sleep this in 6 hours and then wake up and go, but just my rest, my life, my days. Maybe I have my personal goals and I have uh, some personal time or personal clock, but it's just me. Then I have my bank. Then I have community in relation of my bank to the whole community. And then I have physical subscription. So I think that's the more interesting and tangible, realistic roadmap than it was before. So instead of starting with bank as we did with Bitcoin, where boom, you have to put uh, upload, you have to transfer Bitcoin to your wallet, then you have to wait, then it generates dividends. It's amazing system, but it's very long term, and we try to put everything just in a few weeks. So perhaps we start with me, as we planned. And me is where uh, we still focus on the questions and building my uh, digital copy or training my own model of myself. passively, but creating a clone of my preferences. So it's self-care questions. And if you think about the whole context that it's tab versus the immediate app, if we're thinking about that you're doing it on your laptop and it's your personal dashboard, then those questions can be more focused on uh, both reflection and planning for the week. Can be reminders of the week, could be reminders that it's not about only work, can be reminders of weekend plans, um, and a lot of other things that can be there to support your workday. So you're not by yourself. Reminders to eat, reminders to drink water throughout the day, reminders to uh, have a rest or even nap. And so that feature that was there in forms of questions, and there was also sound. It was a noise machine, like a radio, where we would have a generated uh, meditation music that you can play. And the idea was that it could become ultimately a radio of where we can stream mixes, meditation sounds and music, and even podcasts depending on the time of the day. So sound was there. We can perhaps keep it. So that's one of the features. Then there was community connections, where you would be able to post uh, quick updates, and it will be there will be visible for everyone. So it was like you don't have to follow anyone. You're just on the main page, and you see blinking updates from the community. So it would be like public message. Then there was a general community feed, more like a blog, but where people would be able to comment, which is also very interesting. Then we had a wallet. We would have dividends, GDP, ranking, uh, we would have ability to buy shares, and physical subscription, modular. So all that was built in a period of like 1 month, 2 months, maybe 2 months, very fast. I think in my mind it's 1 month, but it was built 2, 3 months because it was very, very fast and we were shipping every week. So from all this list, I think instead of building the whole lineup at once, we just start with me. But we know that me matrix, that ghost with questions will eventually result in some form of personal finance banking because it's very close in the life, in the society we live in. Um, but that's why it's very close. That's why we want to make it our way, where we'll start with me spiritual, me loved, me cared. From that, we result into banking. So I have money, I collect money, I save money. How that look in relation to everything else? So it's not distracting, it's not depressing, it's not some kind of competition who have more. It's a resource. From that, we move to more of community. My relation to community, how I can make more money, um, perhaps even like a country we discussed GDP. Um, if lot is a country, how it's going, how I can participate. Perhaps there are jobs and roles, and ultimately there must be a way for lot members to make money on lot platform. That's very important. Not through content, because I think that's will become like Reels and TikTok, even if we plan for that, but something else. Um, one of the ideas were that we creating our own country with our own rules and our own like SDK for life, and it's more like Wikipedia where people contribute, and maybe that's the way people can make money. But ultimately, um, it's very important that people can make money on the platform. And then after that, we move into physical subscription, where it's not everything, it's not all items, it's not all products on the earth. It's just basic needs for me to be at the country. They don't have to be all black, they don't have to be like militant and minimalistic. It can be very abundant and fun and playful this time, but it's still basic necessities for daily life, for daily routine. So to me, that's a complete vision. Um, yes, perhaps we can start with physical subscription right away, and I don't think it will distract. So if we start tomorrow with self-care module, it will help. We don't have to wait for community tools or banking, but we really have to pace it this time. And in one world, we have $10 million in our bank. Uh, People believe in it. There's investment. We might start with physical subscription, community, banking, and me at the same time. Um, but at this point, I think since we are bootstrapping, we have to focus on something, and it'll be me. Again, knowing that bank is coming, bank resulting in community, and community resulting in physical subscription. Then again, all these features, and there will probably be more, um, it's just too much. So I think we can keep the sound. We can keep, because that's very interesting to work with AI, and most of the time I found myself, if I'm not listening to SoundCloud, I just have headphones on with sound isolation. So some very gentle radio or sound, perhaps it's always on, but then there are almost like hours of silence, and then it slowly start to play something, and then slowly fades out, keeping your day focused. So it's very interesting, and sound we have to keep. Self-care questions is also very interesting. Um, Maybe you see a few of them per day. Maybe that's the first thing you do in the morning. Maybe they appear during the lunch. But I feel that those questions daily or semi-daily are very interesting way to interact with the system. And especially if we move those questions for a focused subject like self-care, me, gathering information about me, that's a very powerful tool. I think that public messaging is also a very cool feature. So I feel that I'm not alone. And I think that um, it's only can be some of the community metrics. how many people online, um, etc. So I would say that we have to do only these four features for the launch and nothing else. And everything else that was built that generated interest, that generated investment interest, must be paced. And the reasons are very um, down to earth, you know? Like, for example, the feature where I can buy shares of the company and invest is real demonstration of decentralized system. But legally, we have to work with investment lawyers, corporate law lawyers to make that system official. Even that the previous version was built on blockchain, so it's like very bulletproof. Still, it must be backed by papers and corporate law and lawyers. So somehow, if we want to build it, and it's kind of defeats the purpose, right? Because I just want to be able to buy like 0.0001 share of the company and for like $1 and keep it. But I can't do it legally, so it either must be turned into some kind of game, or if we want to make it legal, like why not? Why can I buy $1 worth of lot now? Why lot can be public now? Like I have to wait for the Wall Street, or I have to become to a certain scale, have certain networks. Only then I can become public company. Like we have method that we demonstrated that any company can become public. So, but we need investment and powerful corporate lawyers that will help us to design the system into legal system. That leads to ranking. Ranking is also very interesting. Who are the not to who is the richest, but rather who is the biggest supporter? Because um, we had the idea, and it was implemented that you can either invest with money into lot, or you can be a very long subscriber. That's still considered as equal investment. Same questions. Um, GDP also very interesting, but having GDP of like $5,000 or $10,000 is not fun. So I guess that will be launched when we have, actually millions of dollars in the bank account. Then it will be a company. Dividends, extremely interesting, but it's all goes from the shares. Once I'm invested, now I can see the overall GDP growing, and I can see my dividends being allocated daily. We had system where dividends would be allocated in real time. So if a new investor would buy $1 worth of lot equity, then you would have like thousands a fraction, but still you would see the dividends going into your account. And that leads to wallet, where I store my money, where I allocate some of the money for my basics. Ideal world, there's a way to calculate how much I need per month for my sustain my life, which is rent, food, water, clothes, hygiene, and I keep those money at lot, and then lot helps to manage it better. Very interesting. But that whole section can be only done, unfortunately, only later. It's very ambitious. I feel that that's a big, groundbreaking idea. I think that that whole system is actually an everything app, and that whole system is can be like WeChat because we creating a platform, um, not for everything of everything, but for me to sustain my monthly life and plan my yearly life. I think it's very relevant in today's world, and a lot of people, young people, would need the system again for the future. Um, and so, self-care questions is one of the most important things that we have to launch, um, because this data will eventually result in my own metrics, my own numbers. So that's the tracking. And most of the apps, if you really think about it with cold blood, it's just meaningless numbers like calories and steps. Even hours of sleep is very superficial metrics. So hopefully we'll come up with real metrics, but that are not scary. Like not how many days I have to live, um, which is obvious one. Something more interesting and more inspiring, like um, personal records of waking up, how early I can wake up, um, personal records of work. Perhaps you can keep track of the goals, of financial goals, of how much money you want to make. Like I have those spreadsheets where this is my target, um, uh, targets, target sum per month, and this is how much I actually got. It's very helpful, and so I think those things can be very very cool inside our interface. Um, yeah, and you see, if we fold this whole thing into the app with just self-care questions, we going to compete with meditation apps, and that's not the place where we want to be. If we want to compete, we want to compete with WeChat and um, X and Airbnb. I think those platforms are the most promising of of the next 10, 15 years. It's like instead of having hundreds of apps, I just want one app to allocate my money, allocate my whole kind of service thing of me so I can focus on family and love. Like I don't want to spend my time adjusting those apps. And yeah, so that's the vision. That's a little change, but I think it's important to mention it during this call. Once again, I just wanted to say that the vision is there's me beyond money. Then there's me in society. I picked a country. I live in the country. I wake up somewhere, and I have to do something to get more of the energy that 50% comes from money. So we want to create an alternative way to think about that whole thing. This money is very depressing, but it's in reality what separates wealthy people from not wealthy people, that they don't think about money as depressing thing, even if there's a low amount. So we want to change the appearance of money as a positive energy wave rather than something depressing. And community is a trust fund. You know that it's not just you who believe in this. There are other people who being on the same wavelength as you are. And that whole package result in meaningful products, monthly refills. And so that whole thing must be only 10% of your life. And the 90% of your life you dedicate to other things like dreams, family, love, travel, building something. long term of your own, be it a house or a company. But now we have 90% of time that is dedicated to figuring out what I'm doing, who I am, what I'm doing with my money, where it's coming from, where I should spend them, where I belong. Is it I'm by myself? Is it career? Is it work? What kind of community? And then maintenance, buying stuff, trying to figure out what stuff to buy and being advertised with stuff. It's 90% of our life, and 10% of life we spend on love and family. So that's maybe important. So that's the vision, that's the outline of the current thinking and our work at lot. Garlic. Yes. So Kuzia, yeah, we pass, then we pick up him from the school. We pass through the target, and he calls it Tarlik. It's June. Uh, yes, you tune into radio. You go to your work. You open your laptop. Instead of going to the social media, you open load tab. Their meaningful community. You press play for the sound, and you go. Different kind of focus, where everyone in your region has the same routine set by law. It's a cool idea, like the original government radios, where everyone listens to the same thing and it just says, right, time for lunch. And you know that 1,000 people will go for lunch now together with you. It's cool. It's very cool. Yes, so 500 people waking up at the same time and 500 people drinking water. Amazing. Shared experience. Kiro saying money is very depressing indeed. Shouldn't be. The moment you think about money is something positive and good, everything change. Uh, it's like feels like a secret world. Some people think about it as energy and its resource. Sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't. You invest, you play with it, you work towards it. It's a fun part of life, nothing more. Fun, good resource. And then the rest of us kind of see it as a some competition, negativity, which is uh, it's not. Do you think about concepts such as steward ownership? I think something like this might be interesting to consider. Sven, let me see what's steward ownership. Very interesting. Well, uh, uh, Yes, I heard it in different terms, like the voting. Voting, we talked about voting very early days, and we maybe will change, but we talked with Sergey Filippov, the original developer of the system, about voting, and I like his opinion. I share it. The vote can't be equal. It's not right. A professor weight, professor's weight of the vote compared to, say, an 18-year-old person is very different somehow, and might be system like on Reddit, like karma, but that's also feels like a little compromised, um, because it's becoming something else. Like I'm too much of professor, and now I have such a heavy vote that I overshadow people who actually have energy. Making equal votes doesn't work. Making karma like wait for the vote doesn't work. So voting is strange. I feel that there is a leadership team, and they have their own metrics and they have their own organization system, and that spreads uh, to the community and to the company. Like for example, even this thing where people can stream every week and connect to community, and then community decide who do what, and kind of not vote, but just express the interest in numbers. It's a very brutal system, but it can work at scale better than voting. Inevitably, voting will be compromised. That's what I feel. That's very interesting to think about it. Maybe the voting on blockchain with very transparent profiles, not like nicknames, but it's an actual person. You can see their skill set and where they're coming from, and then their vote is like 100 points versus 1 point, and you respect it and you know where it's coming from. And then perhaps once they go through 100 points to like say 200 points, they can't vote anymore, but they become like observers, and so you can't be too heavy. So it could be interesting. Thank you for this. It's very interesting. Steward ownership. I didn't know about it. Steward ownership refers to a set of legal structures that instill two core principles into the legal DNA of a business: self-governance and profits serve purpose. These structures ensure the control, voting rights over the business is held by people inside the organization or very closely connected to its mission. Yeah, that sounds right. Very closely connected to its mission. Perhaps the AI can be the CEO of the company, and once a week you have a question, says something about lot, and it says like in a brutal language. Of course, it can be much more delicate. Like, are you satisfied with the direction of the company? Yes, no, and then it's like no, and then like there are a few more absolutely not controlled by people, but by the AI questions generated for you. And you pick one, and then there's a clear decision by the machine where the company can go, not based on sales, but rather on the mission. So could be very interesting. So people vote by their opinions, by interactions, and then machine creates the outline. And then everyone, after 3 months of the kind of, or even a year of survey, people see, right, machine made a decision, and now That decision is very articulated based on people feedback, on real life feedback, and now still the um, leadership team have to make decision, but that decision will be powered by community and the AI. Interesting. There are also ideas to allocate votes to others based on expertise. Mhm. I feel that inevitably there was a very great run 2 years ago with Bitcoin and NFT, but we still end up with Coinbase, which is currency exchange app, and we end up with um, X, where you can buy blue badges, and we end up with Instagram, where you have to post a reel per day to get some traction. Is it a fight between like independent internet and corporations? Um, so I think there's definitely a place for just again with cold blood a new type of corporation that is decentralized, where people own it, and it's a mix of open source, corporation, a bank, and I guess a meditation app. And I'm saying this, but always, but I think Lot is very unique position of having all those components together, and it makes sense. So very interesting chat today. Um, might seem that I'm just talking, but I looking at the comments and that steer the thought process. So happy to be voicing the ideas and be connected. There's also after each stream there's always messages on everywhere, Telegram and Instagram and emails that kind of create the narration for the next one. So it's community work. I'm happy to be, I guess, narrating it. So thank you very much. That's it for today. Uh, we'll continue the groundwork, and I hope we'll have more updates, like tangible updates next Friday. At the very least, we'll have a great conversation as usual. And so tune in. Thank you very much. Always great to connect. I'm feeling extremely grateful each Friday. There's purpose behind my work, at least. I'm happy. Talk soon.